Hey guys, it's Meg Fenn. I'm here again. We're going to do part 2 of the 12-step tutorial. And in this segment, I'm going to cover steps 4 through 9. Now, this is exciting stuff because really this is where we get better. All right? In the first segment, I went over the first 3 proposals or the first 3 steps. Okay? And once you go through those, I ended the last tape on our instruction, which said, next we launched out on a course of vigorous action. How do we do that? We start with a step 4, personal inventory. This step people get crazy over. They make a big deal about it. They drink over it. They talk about it, but they don't do it. Now, I've worked with a lot of people, and I'm going to tell you, they get through the first 3 proposals. They feel pretty good about it. They get the 4th step inventory, and they stop. You have to do it. I promise you, it's not that big of a deal. And if you do 4 through 9, you'll feel better. When you feel better, you're not going to want to drink and use. So we're going to start with 4, which is made a personal inventory. I'm going to break it down a little bit for you. 4 is the writing. 5 is the telling what you wrote to someone. It should be someone you trust, sponsor or clinician or a 12-step instructor, whoever. But 4 itself is the writing. Now, people get all confused about this. They start to think they have to write their whole life story. They have to tell all their dirty secrets. They have to, get into trauma. Not true. Let me tell you what step 4 really is. Think about this. Bill Wilson was a businessman. This is a business inventory, and he gave it to us to use for our personal lives. What's good we'll keep. What's not, we're going to work on getting rid of. So in step 4, we're going to look at 3 parts of our lives that are probably giving us some trouble. Resentments, fears, and harms. Harms breaks into 2 kinds. There's sexual harms and other harms. But those are the 3 things we're looking at in the 4th step inventory. So the way we break it down is in step 4, you're going to take your resentments. What's a resentment? Resentiment. I keep thinking about it. Sentiment, thinking. It's bothering me. I see that person. I get upset. Someone hurt me. I keep thinking about it. It's bothering me. And what do we do with resentments? I know what happens with me when I have a resentment. And I'm thinking it probably happens with you too. I drink and use, right? When I've been hurt, my feelings have been hurt. And I can't seem to square that away on my own. I have this resentment. And I act in a certain way, and it never seems to work right for me. That's what this inventory is going to expose for you. So we're going to look at, first of all, resentments. And you just make a list of who or what you're angry at, who's bothering you, okay? Just write it down. The next column in that, give me just little bullets of what happened. Bullets. We'll talk about it later. Just tell me basically why you're angry. The next column, you pick a list of instincts that have gotten affected by this resentment. Okay? Things like self-esteem, things like pride, financial security. There's a list. You just pick it. The next column, did you do anything to get the ball rolling? Okay? And sometimes we don't. And if you don't, you pick another list. Have I held on to this resentment forever? Did I allow behavior maybe I shouldn't? Have I been a victim? Did I have expectations that were unrealistic or didn't get met? We look at that. And in the last column, we're going to look at which defects of character are coming out because of this resentment. Fear, dishonesty, selfishness, self-centeredness, being judgmental, being inconsiderate, being irresponsible. And you pick which ones. Okay? So those are the columns that we go through. We look at each resentment, and each one we see, hey, when my instincts get affected, or when my instincts get threatened, I behave in a certain way, usually not very good, and my character defects come out, right? So what usually happens is we end up making it much worse than it needs to be, right? I'm sure you've heard this one in the rooms, but it's my favorite one, right? When I have a resentment, how do I try to deal with it? I light myself on fire and hope the person next to me dies of smoke inhalation, right? It doesn't work. That person is not going to get that affected by it, but I'm going to kill me. The big book spends a lot of time talking about resentments, how they cause us to drink, how they're our number one offender, so we got to take it seriously. So in step 4, you're going to look in a very systematic way through the columns what resentments do to you. You know, what I learned for me was when I get upset about somebody hurting me, I have a tendency, my instincts get affected, they get threatened, and what I do is I act out. Sometimes I lie. Sometimes I drink at people. Sometimes I run the other way. I get irresponsible. I get inconsiderate. But I will tell you, one thing I learned from doing it is fear is always the first thing out there. Fear leads them all, okay? That's all we're looking at. We're just taking a look at when you have a resentment, what instincts get affected, how do you behave, and what defects of character come out. Because later on, we're going to take care of those defects. So that's the resentment piece. Fears is the exact same thing. List your fears, bullet point why you have them, which instincts are affected, what character defects are coming out. And then we do harms. You're going to do sex harms first, and that's people that you've had some kind of intimate relationship with that have gotten hurt by you. You just list them. Again, bullets, what happened? What instincts get affected? And then the 4th column changes. In that one we say, did I unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, bitterness, fear, and what could I have done instead? And the last column, we do the defects of character again. So we're going to look at those harms, okay? And again, we're looking for patterns. When I hurt people, I behave in a certain way. All right, and again, we're collecting this data so we can use it later to recover, okay? Other harms are people that have gotten hurt as a result of us drinking or using, or people we've stolen from, or people we lied to, or, so other harms. Anyone else that, we did not have on our sex harms list that we hurt. Again, list them, bullet point what we did, instincts affected. Did I unjustifiably arouse any of the bitterness, jealousy, suspicion, anger in that person? What could I have done instead? And the last column is always what defects of character are coming out because of it. Fear, dishonesty, selfishness, self-centeredness, being judgmental, being inconsiderate, or being irresponsible. You're going to just write those things down, and then you sit with your sponsor or whomever you decide to sit with, and we talk about it. We're going to read it through. And the whole point of that exercise is to just look at some of the patterns. Hey, I noticed that when, you have harmed someone in the past, you feel bad about yourself, and that causes you to drink more or to use more. I noticed that when you're feared up, you also get dishonest. These are the types of things we're going to look at. You and your sponsor or whoever will put that together, and then at the end of it all, you're going to say, wow, I have a few defects of character I need to work on, all right? And that's going to bring you right into 6 and 7. 6 and 7 are all about character defects, okay? And I've learned something, okay? Here's the thing. We all have them. We're going to all always have them. It's just a matter of managing them, all right? A lot of our defects of character are really defense mechanisms that we had when we were kids that actually maybe worked for us back then. But as adults, they're not working any longer. So for defects of character, step 6 is about getting willing to have them removed. 7, we ask them to be removed. So in 6, we got to get willing to have them be removed. Well, when you look at your defects of character, you'll have gotten them from your 4th and 5th step, and you're going to see basically a lot of repetition. You're going to see fear. You're going to see dishonesty, selfishness, self-centeredness, being irresponsible, being inconsiderate. What do I do with these things? All right? We're going to look at them, and we're going to see, first of all, are you willing to get rid of them? Are there any of them that you kind of like, right? Sometimes we have defects of character we like. sarcasm, you know. Sometimes we like senses of humor that may hurt someone else, even though it's not intentional. But we're going to take a good look at those character defects and we're going to say, am I willing to have these things be removed? And if the answer is yes, then in step 7 we ask for them to be removed. So the step 7 prayer is basically, you can kind of say it as an affirmation. You don't have to say it exactly as the prayer, but what we're getting at here is something like my creator or my higher power or whoever you use. I am now willing that you have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character, and here's the important part, that stands in the way of my usefulness to you and others. All right? And then it's, grant me peace as I go out to do your bidding. But here's the thing. You want the main core of that prayer to be, hey, please get rid of these defects of character so that I can be of maximum use to you and others. All right? Because our defects of character block us from God, block us from other people, block us from being of service, right? They don't serve us anymore. So 6 and 7 is a lot about learning about what's my character defect today that's coming up. It's going to be a daily thing for the rest of our lives, but it's manageable. You know what the big ones are. You're willing to have them removed, and on a daily basis, we ask for them to be removed. And over time, sometimes I'm doing well with a couple. It seems like I'm doing okay with, dishonesty and being judgmental, and boom, it's like whack-a-mole. Self-centeredness comes up and selfishness comes up. But it's always the process of working on them and knowing that I am trying to get rid of these defects of character so I can be of maximum use to people. So that's it. 6 and 7 are defects of character. Now we're going to go to steps 8 and 9. 8 is making a list of people we have harmed and becoming willing to go make an amends. That being said, my suggestion for step 8 is write your list like there is no step 9. All right? Most of the people on your amends list are going to be the people that were on your harms list back in 4. So really, it's a list of people that we need to go to at some point and let them know that, hey, I did you wrong, I've changed my life, and I'd like to come and, make an amends. So you're going to make that list in 8. One thing that's useful is sometimes what they'll have you do is they'll say, look, just write a list of people you're willing to go to now. Then the second grouping is maybe someday I'll make the amend. And then the last grouping is I'll never make it. But at least you've got your list together. Okay, so amend list is really people you need to go to at some point and square things away with. This is an important step. We're getting closer to the part in our book called the promises. After we complete step 9, you can read the promises. They read it at meetings all the time, but in our book, in our instruction book, it comes after step 9. The promises are coming, but we got to get to 9, all right? And then life starts to really get good. So in 8, we make a list of people we need to go to and square things away with. In 9, we actually go and make the amend. These 2 steps have to be done with a sponsor, and you have to have some time. This is not an apology, it's an amends. Amends means to change. All right, so again, you want to have some time, you want to do this with a sponsor, you want to be prepared, and, once you do this, once you go to the people that you've harmed and square things away, you're going to feel better. And I keep telling you guys, when you feel better, you're not going to want to drink and use. So this is a big step, but it does need to be done over some time, because if you haven't changed, you shouldn't really go to people and tell them you've changed. All right, so this one takes a little bit of time, but when you get there, you'll make your list, you'll make your amends, and as you start making them, listen, most of them are going to go well. Are there a couple that don't? Sometimes our amend is we have to stay away from someone. We don't get to go even talk to them. But your sponsor will help you. There are ways to deal with it. And once you get through step 9, like I said, the promises come and you're going to really start feeling better. So 4 through 9, this is where we get to start feeling better. And this is the work. This is the work of the program. Inventory, sharing inventory, learning character defects, being willing to have those things removed, working daily to have them removed, making a list of people that we need to go to and square things away with, and then doing that. And that will bring us to 10, 11, and 12, which are the spiritual disciplines of the program. And this is what keeps us in the game.